Good morning, I'm Kenneth Moten.
And I'm Andrea from GE. Here are the top 5 things to know this Monday. Number 1, the church shooting caught on camera in Texas.
Authorities are trying to determine the motive behind the attack near Fort Worth, Texas. A gunman opened fire during Sunday service, killing 2 men before he was shot dead by parishioners. The shooter is described as a transient with a history of arrest.
Number 2, the attack on a Hanukkah celebration north of New York City. The family of a man in custody for stabbing 5 people at a rabbi's house says Grafton Thomas has a long history of mental illness. Thomas was arrested shortly after the attack.
Witnesses say the machete was the size of a broomstick. Thomas has pleaded not guilty to attempted murder and other charges. On to number 3, a new round of U.S. airstrikes targeted militants in Iraq and Syria who are backed by Iran.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Defense Secretary Mark Esper traveled to Florida to brief President Trump about the airstrikes, which followed a rocket attack that killed a U.S. contractor. Pompeo says the U.S. will not tolerate actions that threaten Americans. Number 4, Congressman and civil rights icon John Lewis has announced he has stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
The 79-year-old says he plans to undergo treatment and return to Washington. Lewis led the 1965 Bloody Sunday March in Selma, Alabama, where he was beaten by police.
He released a statement saying he's been in some kind of fight for nearly his entire life, but never faced a fight like cancer.
And finally, number 5, what could be a $100 million catastrophe?
That's what it cost to produce the movie Cats. And experts say that's how much money the movie could lose. The feline film made only $38 million worldwide in the 2 weeks since its debut.
Moviegoers stayed away after it was panned by critics, despite a cast that includes Taylor Swift, Jennifer Hudson, and Idris Elba. People just didn't want to see it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like the weird faces. I don't know.
There's still time, though.
But now I want to see it because so many people didn't want to see it. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to It's Morning in America, and welcome Andrea for GE. You've seen her reporting on our show, but now you're sitting in the big anchor chair.
Flesh.
And it's great to have you here. How you doing this morning?
So good. So happy to be here.
We've been
Thanks for
treating you
having us.
okay, right, this morning?
Just okay.
Just okay.
Everybody's been fabulous. Thank you so much for all your help and support.
You know, well, we try. It's
Yeah.
great to have you here. We have a lot of fun here on It's Morning in America, and we talk about a lot of fun things. So this is the last Monday
Of 2019,
of
isn't that crazy?
2019. Here we go, 2020. Where you at? All right, we'll get to a lot of fun things in this show coming up, but we want to get to that big story, the search for a motive after that deadly church shooting in Texas, shattering Sunday services days after Christmas.
A gunman opened fire just before communion in the church outside of Fort Worth. He killed 2 men before being gunned down by parishioners. ABC's Inez de la Cuatera joins us with the latest on the investigation. Good morning, Inez.
Good morning, Kenneth and Andrea. Investigators are still trying to figure out a motive behind that horrific attack, with the violence unfolding just as parishioners had begun receiving communion. This morning, a Texas community reeling from a day of worship turned deadly. Parishioners visibly shaking, hugging each other for comfort. 2 people are dead and 3 are injured after a gunman opened fire inside the West Freeway Church of Christ. The chaos that ensues all caught on camera, with the church live streaming its Sunday service. There's the gunman sitting in the back of the room wearing a large coat. Watch as he pulls out a gun and aims it at a man nearby, opening fire before the man can defend himself. The shots sparking panic. Parishioners seen ducking for cover, one man even covering his wife with his own body.
I need help with patient care.
Several members of the congregation almost immediately returning fire and striking the gunman. Authorities say it was all over within 6 seconds.
The citizens who were inside that church undoubtedly saved 242 other parishioners.
The gunman ultimately dying at the scene, taken out by 2 of the volunteers on the parish security force.
And it was a sad thing that he had to come into the congregation and hurt people, and it's a sad thing that we had to hurt him.
And the lieutenant governor of Texas praised the swift response and said the tragedy would be studied by law enforcement and churches and anyone else wanting to train their own security. Andrea and Kenneth.
All right, Inez, thank you for that. We turn now to the other attack on a religious gathering, the stabbing of 5 people at a rabbi's house in New York during a Hanukkah party.
New York's governor is calling this an act of domestic terrorism, but this morning the suspect's family is sharing what they believe is behind the violent assault. at a rabbi's home north of New York City. Dozens celebrated the final night of Hanukkah despite the house being a scene of horror less than 24 hours earlier.
Report multiple people stabbed.
Police say Grafton Thomas barged into a Hanukkah celebration at the rabbi's home in Rockland County Saturday night and started slashing people with a large machete.
He took out his knife sword from a holder and started hitting people back and forth. He didn't say anything. First he went into the dining room and hit a few people there. And then he went to the kitchen, he hit one guy there, and then he came back to the dining room.
5 people were stabbed during the terrifying rampage. Witnesses say the weapon was the size of a broomstick.
Just swinging his sword, knife, I don't know what it was, back and forth, hitting people.
The Community Public Affairs Council posted the surveillance video, which they say shows the suspect leaving the scene in a car. The man chasing after him wrote down the license plate, which police say was critical to the case. The NYPD later arrested Thomas in Manhattan and say he was covered in blood and smelled like bleach.
Why'd you do it?
Thomas said nothing while leaving court after pleading not guilty. A man who says he's the suspect's friend said Thomas has, quote, mental issues and has changed over the years. Overnight, the suspect's family released a statement saying he is not a member of a hate group, adding that he has a long history of mental illness and hospitalizations. He has no history of violent acts and convictions for any crime. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says this attack is the 13th anti-Semitic incident in New York State since the beginning of December.
I consider this an act of domestic terrorism. Let's call it what it is.
And now New York Mayor Bill de Blasio is asking for more NYPD resources to protect Jewish communities for the second time in recent weeks, following a deadly shooting rampage at a northern New Jersey kosher market, which left 6 people dead.
It's not coming from a single source. As we said earlier, there's no specific and credible threat against New York City, but it has been consistent, and therefore we have to take extraordinary measures.
Thomas, that suspect in that stabbing with the machete, is being held on $5 million bail. Of the 5 victims, 1 is in critical condition. Meanwhile, police across this country and LA are also increasing patrols near synagogues in response to the stabbings.
Well, some other stories we're watching this morning. President Trump and his Republican allies are blasting House Speaker Nancy Pelosi for withholding the articles of impeachment from the Senate. Democrats are defending Pelosi's decision to wait until she knows what the Senate trial will look like, saying those who vote against witnesses and documents are complicit in a cover-up. Meanwhile, the New York Times is offering new details about the freeze on aid to Ukraine. It says in August, then National Security Advisor John Bolton urged President Trump to release the funds during an Oval Office meeting. The president reportedly responded, "Ukraine is a corrupt country. We are pissing away our money."
President Trump has been briefed about U.S. airstrikes against an Iranian-backed militia group. That group is blamed for a rocket attack that killed an American contractor in Iraq.
The group says the U.S. strikes resulted in the deaths of nearly 20 of its members. More from ABC's Brad Milkey. Good morning, Brad.
Yeah, that's right. These missiles struck targets in Iraq and Syria, but the real aim here was Iran. That's because for years, the U.S. has accused Iran of sponsoring groups that attack American troops. And that's exactly what the U.S. says happened last week. This really ramped up on Friday when a group called Kataib Hezbollah fired missiles at an Iraqi military base housing American troops. A U.S. civilian contractor was killed, leading to questions of whether President Trump would hit back. Yesterday, he did. But the bigger issue here is what's going on behind the scenes, because this group, which attacked Americans throughout the Iraq War, is widely seen as getting support from Iranians. ABC's Elizabeth McLaughlin says that this was kind of an American brushback pitch to the Iranian regime.
This is really, I think, what the U.S. likes to call a proportional response. The attacks that happened over the weekend were 5 what they called defensive strikes. They targeted weapon storage facilities, command and control locations, to send a warning that if you continue to attack these military bases and you continue to threaten U.S. and coalition interests, that the United States will respond. Of course, Iran saying that the U.S. has violated Iraqi sovereignty.
Still, she says, nowhere near as serious as an attack on Iranian soil, and it's still unclear exactly how much Iran might direct these groups in Iraq itself. We'll have a lot more on this on Start Here later this morning. Listen on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app. Kenneth, Andrea?
Our thanks to Brad there. Kim Jong-un is calling on North Korean officials and his military to prepare for active and offensive measures to protect his country's security and sovereignty. But he didn't elaborate on what those measures might be. Kim is holding several days of meetings with the North's ruling party amid concerns that he could suspend nuclear diplomacy with the U.S. if the Trump administration refused to make concessions.
Well, get vaccinated or stay home.
That's the message from the Seattle Public Schools to its students. Kids who are not up to date on their shots won't be allowed to return from the winter break. It's a new state law.
And those who come to school anyway will be kept in a separate room until their parents come to pick them up. The district is offering free vaccination clinics today and Friday.
Some good news this morning. Former President Jimmy Carter returned to church yesterday. The 95-year-old Carter and his wife Rosalind were back at their church in Plains, Georgia for the first time since early last month.
That's when Carter was hospitalized for brain surgery. The Carters greeted other parishioners after the service was over.
June is usually the popular month for weddings.
But the U.S. women's soccer team was a little occupied with winning the World Cup, just a little something, 6 months ago. So teammates Ashlyn Harris and Allie Krieger had to wait to tie the knot till over the weekend. Friends and family joined the couple in Miami Saturday. Harris and Krieger are also teammates on the Orlando Pride in the National Women's Soccer League.
Love that. Congratulations to them.
Yeah, they look beautiful. They were a little busy about 6 months ago.
Just a little bit, taking over the world.
It's been a good year for
soccer.
them. Yeah.
It has, and that's a nice way to celebrate right there. And hey, and former President Obama has tweeted a list of his favorite TV shows, movies, and books from the past 12 months.
His top films of 2019 included Just Mercy, Apollo 11, and Higher Ground, a film from his own production company. TV shows high on his list include Fleabag, Watchmen, and Unbelievable. I haven't seen any of these. I must get on it. And his top books include Lost Children Archive and The Yellow House.
You have a list of favorite things for 2019 that don't involve children animation?
That limits it to very small. Although I did watch that show on HBO and Game of Thrones. I almost blanked out on it.
What was that thing again?
That
the
little
big finale.
thing.
Oh yeah, GOT. Yes.
I watched all of it, but it was one of those love-hate relationships because I was like, I can't watch. I must watch. I can't watch.
I still didn't watch because I didn't know what they were saying, so I missed out.
The accents? You couldn't get the
I didn't know.
accents?
I didn't know the language. We did a parody here for the morning shows on World News Now. It was called Thrones News Now. That was pretty good. I did watch like Shameless, that HBO Succession, Madam Secretary. That ended. That was a good one. A lot of good movies. The Avengers.
Yeah, when I have kids, my entertainment time is shrunk down to almost nothing.
True.
But I got to get on all those books and movies.
Well, Uncle K-Mo can come over and watch the kids. And
you might regret that.
All right, that's true. Hey, that brings us to the question of the day. What made your list of favorites for 2019? Tell us what books, movies, or shows you love this year in the comments section, or tweet us at ABC News Live. We want to hear from you.
I need some ideas. Oh, coming up, the two prominent sports figures who've just been named the athletes of the decade. Both of them ruling their respective courts.
But first, the New Year's fireworks and Jeopardy in Sydney amid fears over wildfires. More after this.
Welcome back. We turn now to Australia, where tens of thousands of people have been ordered to evacuate the state of Victoria as soaring temperatures and strong winds have started new wildfires. Let's go across the pond to our foreign correspondent, Julia McFarlane in the London Bureau for more. Good morning, Julia.
Andrea, good morning. The wildfires in Australia, they are showing no signs of abating. Every single state in Australia now has temperatures exceeding 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, as you mentioned, over the weekend, authorities ordered everyone in Victoria, and that's the most southern state of Australia, ordered everyone to evacuate. There are around 30,000 tourists currently on a holiday in Australia. The biggest city there is Melbourne, and it's just close to Sydney, where some of the most fierce fires are raging. This morning, however, authorities have now said that it is too late to evacuate the area. They've warned that they can't get aid to everyone who might still be trapped there. Some really sad news today. One volunteer firefighter has died and two others have suffered burns after their truck rolled over when it was hit by extreme winds. And those extreme winds, they have been forecast over the weekend. Authorities, that's why they told everyone that they really, really need to get out of the area, because as well well as the strong winds, temperatures were going to exceed, and there were also thunderstorms predicted for the area. But guys, I mean, this is really, really serious in Australia. In total, 10 people have been killed in these fires, more than 1,000 homes destroyed, and more than 3 million hectares, the size of Maryland, has been scorched and damaged in Australia. Kenneth, Andrea, I just want to say to you, a friend of mine is actually on her honeymoon in New Zealand, and she took a video over the weekend of ash on the snow-capped mountains in New Zealand, 2,000 miles away from Australia.
2,000, it's just massive.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and it's just so tragic to hear about that death there you just reported. Let's move on, Julia, to Ukraine, where dozens of prisoners have been exchanged in what could be a step toward peace between Ukraine and Russia. And this morning, we understand that this comes just weeks after leaders of the two countries met in Paris.
Right, so both sides have been, for the last few months, trying to work out an end to the conflict there. There have been various talks between the two sides, with President Zelensky and President Vladimir Putin meeting for the first time last month. Now, what happened over the weekend was that 200 prisoners were exchanged in total. This is the second prisoner swap. There was a smaller one in September. Ukraine received 76 captives, and pro-Russian separatists in eastern Ukraine, they received 124 captives. Now, just some context into this conflict. It has been going on since 2014, when Russia annexed the Ukrainian Crimean Peninsula. Now, that conflict has been going on for more than 5 years, and 13,000 people have been killed in that war so far. But it wasn't all good news, though. Some Ukrainian protesters were not happy about that prisoner exchange. There were protests outside the prison where some of the pro-Russian captives were being held. Protesters were blocking the entrance to that prison. They were angry that some of the former Ukrainian riot police were released. They are accused of killing just under 50 protesters in those pro-democracy protests back in 2014.
It is nice to see those reunions, though, between family members.
Absolutely.
We're going to switch gears completely now and talk about actor Zac Efron. He's confirming reports he became sick while filming in Papua New Guinea. So how's he doing now?
Yeah, so we were watching this over the weekend. There were reports that the Greatest Showman actor had contracted a deadly form of typhoid, a nearly deadly form of typhoid, and that he had escaped a brush with death whilst he was in Papua New Guinea filming his new TV show that is going to be released on Quibi. That's an upcoming mobile streaming service. Now, Efron revealed on Instagram, he confirmed the reports that he had fell ill during his travels, but that he's now home with his family and friends, and he managed to get back just in time for Christmas. He posted, "Very thankful to everyone who's reached out. I did get sick in Papua New Guinea, but I bounced back quick and have finished an amazing 3 weeks in PNG. I'm home for the holidays with my friends and family. Thanks for all the love and concern. See you in 2020. Now, Australian media reported that the 32-year-old had come down with a form of typhoid and that he had been flown to Brisbane, Australia to receive treatment, and the doctor who treated him said that he couldn't reveal much about his patient information, but that the organization that oversaw his flights confirmed that they had sent a US citizen in his 30s for treatment in Australia. Now, about this show, back in November, he talked about what he was going to be filming, and it's a show that, guys, ironically, the title of this show is called Killing Zac Efron. Efron said, "I tend to thrive under extreme circumstances and seek out opportunities that challenge me on every level. I'm excited to explore any uncharted territory and discover what unexpected adventure awaits." Guys, Papua New Guinea is, I know a little about it because it's, yeah, I know, right? Because it's on the same island as Papua, which is the most eastern province of Indonesia. And it is an incredibly dense, mountainous jungle region, and it is barely built into. There are huge mountains. You have to go around in helicopters. There's hardly any infrastructure. It is wild, uncharted territory. And something like typhoid is when you come across drinking water that's not very clean, which you get in territories like this. Really dangerous to go there on your own.
Yeah, he's a lucky man.
Very lucky. Glad he's doing okay.
Julie, you know that I like to bring colleagues together. This is the first time, right, that you're meeting Miss Andrea?
Nice to meet you, and I hope you had a lovely Christmas
Hello
holiday.
from across the pond, Julia.
See,
yes.
I just bring them together. It's like a big
uniting
ABC
everybody,
family. Yes. And by the way, do you know, Julia, who Andrea is married to, who's another ABC News colleague?
Oh, no, I don't.
You don't know this? Oh, my. Apparently she doesn't follow.
It's a good big secret.
It is. It's not. If we go on Instagram, it's not that big of a secret.
It's not that.
Okay, so figure it out and come back tomorrow, Julia. And then, no, I'm just kidding. It's Whit Johnson.
Oh, right. Oh, well, happy Whitmas.
Yes. Weekend Whitmas. We had it all.
Weekend Whit.
Oh, see?
That's so nice to know. Oh, lovely to meet you across the pond. Happy Christmas from here in London.
See,
Merry
a
Christmas
true
as well.
ABC family.
All
right,
great.
Julia.
One ABC family.
All right,
Take
see
care,
ya, friend. Let's check our notifications now, starting with Baby Yoda and a striking resemblance. A cat in North Carolina shelter looks just like the social media star.
Aww.
The cat's name is Joy, and Joy is bringing us so much joy this morning. This kitty is just fabulous, and Baby Yoda just really was a big star over the past few months or so. The star that we didn't know that we needed in 2019.
With an oversized piece of clothing on at all times. So
Yeah.
cute. And there's the cat. There's Joy.
Mm-hmm. Real cute, Joy.
Yeah, the
Real
force
cute.
is strong with Joy.
It is.
Well, next to an expensive typo that made it onto thousands of trash cans in Alabama.
10,000 trash cans to be exact. It's supposed to say the crossroads of Mobile County, but it says Mobile Country, which is still kind of like, that works, right? Mobile Country?
Apparently, whoever was making it used some autocorrect there, and country came up instead of county. But they're not going to switch the trash cans.
They're not going to trash them.
Yeah.
They're expensive.
Because the trash keeps getting picked up, and
No,
that's all
it
you
doesn't
need.
matter. No one's going to be like, oh, no, this has a typo on it. I'm not going to take your trash out. Hey, next, the Cincinnati Bengals were excited about their win over the Cleveland Browns, but running back Joe Mixon was a little too excited. Watch him sweep the legs from under the referee with his helmet. But he helps him up, though.
He does it. He apologized. In a tweet, he apologized, saying it was completely unintentional. He was just having fun. But I think that ref is going to be okay. But of all places to get injured, because a ref has such a dangerous job during the game, but for this to happen after, kind of ironic.
Little celebration there. Yeah. All right, and we're looking forward to track and field events at the Olympics this summer, but this dog won't be winning any medals.
He won the medal for cuteness, though. He thought he was doing a good job. He comes close to the camera and sticks out his tongue like, hey, Mom, I did it.
He's like, nailed it, got it, where's my treat?
I love pet videos. Well, this morning we're on the edge of not only a brand new year, but a brand new decade.
And as we look back on the 2010s, two athletes have just been named as standouts in the world of sports. Will Gans has more.
LBJ, the official MVP of the last 10 years. LeBron James named Male Athlete of the Decade by the Associated Press. The superstar has won more games and earned more MVP awards over the last 10 years than any other player in the NBA, which is only a few of the highlights from his legendary basketball career. James leaving Cleveland for Miami, leading the Heat to 2 championships, returning home to Cleveland and picking up one for the Cavs. And now King James reigns over the court in Los Angeles, playing for the Lakers.
James is trailing. James off the steal.
6'9" phenom blocking some serious competition to swipe the Athlete of the Decade title. The AP saying he easily outpaced runner-up Tom Brady, followed by sprinter Usain Bolt, soccer star Lionel Messi, and Olympic gold medalist Michael Phelps. On Saturday, the AP announced Serena Williams as its Female Athlete of the Decade. The tennis champion has won 23 Grand Slam titles, 12 of them in the last decade. And off the court, she's become a champion of women's issues and has launched her own fashion line. Similarly, LeBron James has also found time for off-the-court extracurriculars. He's opened a school, started a production company, and will star in the upcoming Space Jam sequel.
You go to the hole and dominate.
But if you ask King James himself, his highlight of the last decade, marrying his high school sweetheart Savannah.
So King James is in great company, earning AP's Athlete of the Decade title. Past winners include Tiger Woods, Wayne Gretzky, and Arnold Palmer. And by the way, today is LeBron James' 35th birthday.
Big celebrations for him.
Only 35. I don't know why I thought he was a little older.
Yeah, well, he's accomplished a lot.
He has, and he's done a lot. He gives back.
Yeah.
Got some kids
Good
that
guy.
he's taking care of.
Lots of good people on those
Zuri
lists.
James, his daughter is like a YouTube star, about to be a YouTube star now
really?
as well. Yeah.
I have to check her out.
All right, well, coming up, Democratic candidates for president are making their case as the Iowa caucus looms.
Plus, a record-breaking spacewalk gets a shout-out from the stars of a galaxy far, far away.
Here's what to watch out for today. Democrats running for president are on the campaign trail. Former Vice President Joe Biden, Senator Amy Klobuchar, Senator Michael Bennet, Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, and entrepreneur Andrew Yang are set to hold events in New Hampshire.
Senator Bernie Sanders and Mayor Pete Buttigieg are scheduled to hold town halls in Iowa. Senator Cory Booker has a Conversation with Cory event in Reno, Nevada. And former Mayor Michael Bloomberg is set to announce a new policy proposal after meeting with maternal health experts in Montgomery, Alabama.
Stay with ABC News for the latest developments on the road to 2020. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news and alerts, as well as more on all our trending stories. And finally from us on this last Monday of 2019, a shout out of galactic proportions.
Over the weekend, NASA astronaut Christina Koch broke the record for the longest single spaceflight by a woman. And now 2 stars of the Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker, Kelly Marie Tran and Naomi Ackie, have sent out their message of congratulations.
We hear that you are breaking the world record for the longest duration of spaceflight.
By a woman.
Yes!
Yes! Girl power. That's incredible.
Yes.
We're so inspired by your work.
Yeah, and everything you're doing and what you're doing for science and what you're doing for women.
And for the world.
And for the world. Thank you. Thank you so much for your efforts.
We want to be you.
We really do. But we can't because you are you and you're the best at being you.
Yes.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Big congrats. Cook beat the record of 288 days set by former NASA astronaut Peggy Whitson by spending 289 days aboard the International Space Station.
Can you imagine spending that much time alone?
I could not.
In space.
I would miss so many good foods. I would need my Netflix on the go. And
But then
I'm
you
not
have
sure you can get it up there.
You have Star Wars fans, though, or stars actually saying
Yeah.
congratulations, so maybe it's worth it.
Oh, it is. Yeah, 289 days. All right, let's see who does 290. I'm sure it'll be another woman because women are incredible like that.
You're right on that.
It's been great to have Andrea Fajii here.
Thank
and
you.
guess what? She's back tomorrow, everyone, to help us close out 2019.
Yes,
New
thank
Year's
you.
Eve.
Mhm.
Wait, is it New Year's Eve tomorrow?
Yes,
Yeah, oh my
yes.
goodness, it's New Year's
We
Eve
don't even
tomorrow.
know what day it is, yeah.
We really don't. All right, y'all, have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow.